Hey everyone, Vanessa here with C.V.C Entertainment, and today we have the one and only, I should say everyone's favorite celebrity DJ, DJ Exeqtive.
I like that. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Doing very well, doing very well.
Okay, so before we even dive into all like the good stuff, the fact that your name is spelled actually different from how Exeqtive is typically spelled, tell me about that. Was this something that was done on purpose or just a clever way to spell it? What's the story behind your name?
So the story behind my name was, first my name was DJ Icy. So for people that know me over 10 years, it was DJ Icy. There was a techno DJ with that name, and he started to use the name a few months before me. So long story short, I had to go through the name change. This was around the same time, I want to say maybe 2 or 3 years after Instagram really started. So the name change was actually easy for me because of social media. So I went through the whole name change. And I was like, you know what? Even when I was DJ Icy, it wasn't I-C-Y, it was I-C-E-Y. I always did something a little different. So when I went with the name Exeqtive, at that point in time, I was doing a lot of corporate gigs. And I was like, you know what? This is going to fit. You know, Exeqtive is going to fit. And it takes me away from a lot of the, I don't want to say urban nightlife, but it takes me away from, it puts me on a different level. When somebody hears Exeqtive, it's like, oh, you know what? I trust that guy. You know what I'm saying? Instead of an Icy. So it was just a clever way of, adding something different flow to the name, and still keep me, you know, on the corporate gigs, but also in the nightclubs. It's like, okay, it's not just Exeqtive, and it's like, so, you know, so that was the main change behind it and the reasoning behind Exeqtive.
That's really dope. I think that's really dope and super clever as well, because like I said, no one spells it that way. So it makes good sense and it worked out for you. So, hey.
It worked out, but, you know, sometimes somebody wants to Google me, you know, or hear me on the radio. That's where it's like, I gotta spell my name all the time. Exeqtive. You know what I'm saying? Or spelled with a Q, no CU. So I'm used to it. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
That's good. That's good. Okay, so I know that you are originally from Brooklyn. You've been in Brooklyn for a very long time. And you grew up in a household where music was a staple. You are an R&B lover and all of that. So tell me how your start began. What led you into going down the path of becoming a DJ and a music curator?
I don't want to forget anyone on this, but I had a lot of great people through different steps or stages of my life when it comes to music as a DJ. The first person was my dad. He was into building, if you're in the Caribbean world, sound systems at that time. Basically, these speakers you see, speaker on the other side. At that time, they had a lot of other things to it, like amp. You have to buy the speaker separate. And my father would build these boxes. So in the Caribbean world, they'll build the speakers, speaker boxes, buy the speakers, put them in. And it's a whole different vibe of music in the Caribbean world, I should say. So that's how I really got started. Then after my dad, while I was in high school, my coach, rest in peace, DJ Tommy Allen, he used to also DJ at Kiss FM. He gave me a break in doing some of the school events, and that led into other things. Then from Tommy Allen, I want to say DJ Snatchwin at the time. He's DJ S1 right now. He's on WBLS. He gave me an opportunity to open up for him for a lot of events. And as he was making his transition out of some of the nightlife, he kind of passed the torch to me on that. It was like, hey, listen, you know what? You've been opening for me for so long. Here's the clubs, you know what I'm saying? Here's the things that I'm doing, my weeklies. And he gave me 1 or 2, actually it was like two or three weeklies that he was doing. And that started to build. Who else? Radio wise now, there's a lot of people from Snatch One to DJ Pup Dog out in Boston. I do a station out there. DJ Superstar J on Sirius XM. There's a lot of different people. Yeah, it's just been expanding. And just, you know, my musical, the experience, I should say, with each person was different. And each person definitely helped me throughout my career and where I am today. You know, in the wedding world, a guy named Aldo. He basically told me everything I know about weddings. So that's what helped me start my own company called Exeqtive Entertainment as well. So I do radio, I do the clubs, I do weddings, I do it all, you know.
I was about to say that you do it all. And it started from when you were pretty young. So clearly you had a lot of influence around you that led you into like, okay, I like music. I think I'm going to go this route.
Yes,
and
definitely did.
It worked out very well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. So I know we just spoke about Brooklyn. We spoke about your upbringing. And you also mentioned a few people who helped influence you. So I know you recently transitioned from NYC to ATL. So talk about the change and talk about also the music scenes in both locations. Would you say they are similar, or was it like a learning curve and you're still trying to figure it out?
Got it. So I'm gonna look at the camera and say this. This has been one of the hardest things in my life. Oh, wow. I've only been here 9, 10 months, but it has been a very hard transition. Wow. And I still have a lot more to learn and to do. I wasn't expecting it to be easy, but I wasn't expecting it to be this hard. So coming from New York, I want to say the first 6 months I was here, I was traveling back and forth. In New York, I feel, and this may just be in certain circles that I'm in, but in New York, I feel a promoter or event planner would look at your Instagram and say, you know what? He looks like he knows what he's doing. I give him a shot to do the beginning of the party. And if he does well at the beginning of the party, then we know we don't have to hire 2 DJs. We can be the only DJ and we can rock out with him. Yeah. Out here in the A, from the promoters that I've been around, they can see it all, but they're like, yo, we need to hear you DJ. So it's like, okay, everyone is telling me the same thing. Hey, we need to hear you though. Hey, we need to hear you. I always use this comparison. I know everybody that sees me on Instagram, I compare it to like a job. If everyone says they need to see me and no one is going to give me the opportunity, then how am I supposed to how are you supposed to hear me? So same thing with a job. You know, I'm supposed to have this experience, but if no one gives me the experience, how am I supposed to get the experience? Yes. And I know people are like, dang, you've been in the game so long and now you're sounding like a DJ that's starting over. Yes, I'm starting over. It's different for me because I can still fly back and forth, and I do get booked all over the world. So it's when it comes down to finances, I should say, I'm still able to pay my bills. But in order to be home here in the A, I have a lot of building, a lot of networking, more to do, a lot of things to do. So that's how when it comes down to that part. Music-wise, to me, the music is definitely different. And it also depends on the type of events you've been going to. In the urban scene out here, I want to say they do play a couple of records from New York, but they really stay in the South. Yeah. Whereas in New York, I feel we play New York records, but we play a lot more South records than South will play New York records, if that makes sense. Yeah, it does. So that's the big difference in the scenes that I've been seeing. And I feel like a lot of the older songs out here, late 90s, early 2000s, ring off a little bit more in the clubs than it does in New York. I feel New York kind of wants a little bit more newer songs than, but that's just my opinion at the spots that I DJ in both areas. Okay. Yeah.
I really like how you actually mentioned how it kind of felt like you were starting all over. Yeah. Because honestly, I'm not going to lie. When I was thinking of asking you this, I literally was like, he's probably just going to say, okay, the first couple of months were a little rocky because he was adapting. But
still wrong. Still wrong.
The fact that you're saying you're still adapting now, it's just like, we are always learning, no matter how far you are in your career, no matter what you do. So I'm really grateful that you said that, especially when it comes to how experienced you are, how experienced someone else is. You still have to learn when you start in a new atmosphere.
Yes, yes. Still got to put that grind in, and I'm still doing it today.
That's good.
Out. Let me add this. I'm out every day, networking and grinding, and still have to be up every morning at 6 a.m. take my kids to school, all that, come back home, do contracts and all that. Because I see a meme going around here. DJs on Monday and a normal person on Monday, and the DJ is still sleeping until like 3 o'clock. That's not my life. Totally not my life.
I feel you. That's most likely a DJ that has less responsibilities.
Exactly.
Okay, so we're speaking about DJing, and we're also speaking about you being a music curator. So tell me, what do you believe are the 5 things a DJ like yourself must do in order to have a successful event?
Successful event. So I'm going to start off number 1, preparation. 5, proper preparation prevents poor performance. You got to be prepared.
Amen.
Look, got to be prepared. You know what I'm saying? Connect and build with the planner or the event coordinator or whoever that person may be. You have to build that relationship. And also that relationship is going to help you out in the future. Event may come up and you know what? I worked with Exeqtive Entertainment. Let me give them a call. You know, so build with that planner, build with that promoter, whoever it may be for that particular event. That's 2 there. Find an outfit. You know, you gotta look good. So, you know, find out the theme for the event. You know, you don't want to show up in all black when it's an all white event. Vice versa. You don't want to show up with jeans and sneakers if it's a black tie event. You know, so definitely look. I think that's very important. I think a lot of people miss that part.
Really?
Yeah, I think a lot of people miss that part. Back to the preparation part, organize your music. If you're stepping into a 90s theme event, you shouldn't be playing all 2000 songs. You know what I'm saying? So organize your music. And what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4.
We got one more.
Show up at least an hour before.
Okay.
You know, your event. You never know what happens. You know, so show up on time. But more than showing up on time, show up at least an hour, half an hour prior, you know, parking and all that stuff. I know some people are going to look at this interview and be like, Exeqtive, but no. I have a team. My team gets there 2 hours before I to the event. They make sure everything is right for me. So when I walk in, I just plug my laptop in, all right? So I don't have to show up an hour before some of my events, all right? So those are the 5 things I go with, yes.
For those who do not have a team, make sure you show up on time. Make sure you prepare. Make sure you organize your music and you dress appropriate.
That's it.
Those are the 5 magic keys. Okay.
Yes.
That's really good though, because I feel like sometimes some people really don't really know what they should do, or they have so much going on that they're not putting everything into perspective until either the day of or a couple minutes before. But organizing your music, though, I have to say, that's like top notch. I don't know if you've ever seen this tweet or this meme, but it's like, I'm the person in the club that's like, oh, that transition was whack. When the transition.
Oh, wow.
You've never seen that?
Wow. And you know what? You know what? Going back to the difference between New York and Atlanta, I feel that, and once again, this might be just in a circle that I've been in, they're very critical on their DJ.
Really?
They critique their DJ on everything. So
in Atlanta?
In Atlanta. But like I said, it may be in a circle that I've been around.
Okay.
But they're like, yo, that DJ, or they follow a certain DJ and they do certain things with certain DJs. And I'm just like, wow. And if the transition is off or it's not good, they would tell you. There's not like a holding back. Like in New York, I feel like people go out, they have a good time, they party. If you're whack, they're not going to come to you and say you're whack. They just put it on social media or whatever. Out here, they coming to you. They're going to tell you, like, yo, what was that? You know what I'm saying? Or, and vice versa. Here's the vice versa.
Okay.
If you're doing good, they're also going to come and tell you.
Okay.
You know, I feel like in New York sometimes, and maybe because I've been DJing in New York for so many years, you don't get I do get it now, I feel, more than before, because it's like I'm not there as much now. But, yo, you did a good job. Well, yo, we had a great night. In New York, in a kind of way, you know you had a great night when it's 4 a.m. and nobody wants to leave the club. Whereas if someone comes out here to an event and they leave early, even if they leave early, they come to the DJ booth, they figure out a way. Hey, listen, yo, you did a phenomenal job. And they tip out here too. But that's a tip out here. Woo. But anyway.
Okay. So let's talk about the art of DJing now. versus when you or some of the people that you look up to were, well, some of the people you looked up to growing up? Do you feel as though now versus then there is a few similarities and differences, or do you think it's strictly different?
I feel that it's different because there's not, I don't feel like there's enough, I don't hear a lot of DJs talk about people that influence them a lot.
Okay.
And when they do talk about someone that influenced them, it's someone that they've seen, but not really worked with.
Okay.
So you know how we spoke about a lot of people that influence me. I deal with these people to this day sometimes, still call for advice. I feel that that's lost now. I feel like a DJ may look up to a certain DJ, but they can never get in contact with them. And my advice, I'm going to throw a little advice out there for upcoming DJs, find a DJ that you know you can move around with. You know, watch this. I'm in a new city. I'm starting to move around with certain DJs. Big shout out to DJ Mixmaster David, J-Tech. I move around with these guys. This is their city, you know, so find DJs that you can move around with, learn from, ask advice from. Don't just look at the, I don't like saying names. Don't just look at the DJ that you can't get in contact with. You know what I'm saying? And it's good to have those DJs as an influence, but you also want to have someone that you can latch onto and learn from right there and then, because you're just seeing things, you're not able to speak with them or anything like that. So it's good to have those other DJs that are big in your city, in your town, and that you can build under, you know? So I think that's the big difference between now and then. You know, the guys now, it's got my laptop, I know how to mix music. My friend is a promoter, so he's going to book me regardless. And not saying it's not hard work, but it's not as, to me, as hard as it was before.
Yeah. I definitely can see what you're saying. I also think in terms of technology too, there are some things that are probably different. I know that you probably can relate. So
a lot of things that are different, but I'm gonna keep it real. I love the technology. So I'm not going to sit here and do the whole, oh, nah, it was better back then. And, no, listen, man, if they can make everything with Shay doing it, if they can make it smaller and smaller, man, if I can walk in a club like this, which I know some people do, but listen, I love technology. So I'm not going to be one of those guys that I know bash what's going on now. Nah, make this laptop even smaller, make all this smaller. I'm going to buy it. It's cool. That's what we do.
This is good though. So there, because I know there are some people who are just like, technology has changed it, but in a negative way. And then there are some people who say, well, technology changed it and it's a complete pro. I'm still good at what I do. I just now have a little more help, you know?
A little more help. Yep, exactly. Exactly.
I definitely agree. And I feel like you probably think, I fall in that category for sure.
Well, and exactly. Technology, you can't, you know what? I want to even use like my kids. Like it's, my kids want to know how to DJ and I just show them one or two things, but they can go and learn it a little bit easier because of the technology. You know, but I do show them the beginning stages, like, hey, listen, this is the vinyl. But before we had to literally pick up the needle, put it on there. Now we have a digital thing that we put on the record. So now it's digital. So I still show them the difference between what's going on, you know. So it's good to know your past. It's always good to know your past. I'm not going to sit here and say, no, it's not good. Good to know your past, but I love the technology.
I agree. Technology makes everything easier. So I'm here for it.
Yes.
So I know that you have a show called the Exeqtive Suite.
Yes.
And on the show, you pretty much speak to artists and other influential people in music. So talk to me about the birth of the show, how you came up with the idea, and what it means to you.
Okay. So talking about radio, and I want to say this was during the pandemic, 2019, 2020. 2020, closer to around, because my first show was August 2020. So I want to say around June, maybe prior to that. I'm an R&B guy. Everybody knows when I'm in a club, I play the R&B hits to get people going before we get into all other music and all that stuff. So I always wanted a show called the Exeqtive Suite. Always wanted to, that name was just always there. Shout out to Lilo and Jess. I used to be a DJ on another show called the Penthouse Suite. And you know, in the long run, when the show stopped, it's like, Dad, you know what? I need the Exeqtive Suite. Just never happened and stuff like that. And at this time during COVID, I started DJing on a lot of different stations. So I was on a station called on Dash Radio called Taste. Big shout out to you, Lissa. See, I have a lot of people. I got a lot of people in this high that I always got to give a shout out to. So shout out to you, Lissa, for getting me on. And then I got a chance to talk with the program director. And the program director was like, hey, listen, you've been consistent for over a year during this pandemic situation. And I think you should start your own show. I'm like, okay. And I still got the write-up. He sent me a long paragraph. And at the bottom of the paragraph goes, I think the show should be called The Exeqtive Suite, 2 hours of R&B music. And I said, oh my God, can you believe this? Somebody has the same, like I never said this to anyone. I never posted it or anything. So it was just crazy. I looked at my wife. I'm like, yo, can you believe this? Look, you know, so started the show. And the show is, I interview all of R&B artists that are making hits today to some of the past artists. Well, let me say not past artists, legendary artists.
Yes.
Also upcoming artists. You know, so it's not just, you know, I know a lot of people can log on and see, oh, he interviewed Chloe or he interviewed Skip Marley or, you know, it's not just about Money Long recently because, you know, what she has going on, but it's not only about those artists. Sometimes it's about the Kendrick P. I interviewed a guy named Kendrick P., very good guy. You know, artists like that. So that's what it's about, 2 hours of R&B. We do a mix, then we do the interview, then we do another mix. I have guest DJs. DJ LP is one of my guest DJs. DJ So Ty. So they're doing their thing on there. Then I have a countdown at the end. And my countdown is curated by me. You know, what I feel is number 10, 9, 8, you know, 7, 6. That's just all on me. Number one, it's all on what I feel. You know, so I have full reach of my show. And big shout out to Reggie Hawkins, which is the program director of Taste Radio.
Wow. I love how all of this worked out for you. You know how like say like we come up with our plans and God either helps us work through them or he laughs at them and then we go a different direction. But this clearly was something that you were supposed to do because it worked out in your favor perfectly.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
You are so welcome. So I know you also play in Portland. Is that well? People in Portland can also hear you. So how's that show like?
So the Portland show, it's kind of a throwback mixed with a couple of new songs. So shout out to Pup Dog and for making that whole connection again. So it's an iHeart station out from Boston that I was doing, and that put me onto I was in Boston. I do Jam in 94.5, and that put me onto the iHeart station out in Portland, which is 107 Jam in 107.5. So that show is basically old school R&B to new, whereas Boston is all new, you know, so that's what's going on with those stations. Yep.
It's really, really dope. So I want to ask you one final question before we wrap up. This is just a little, just for fun, nothing radio related, but since you are, you know, a DJ, you're at events, if you can choose any champagne or drink, what's your favorite? I
like Bartonella Moscato. So, and not because it's just sitting here, not because it's sitting here. This is the champagne one, the rose. But I like the blue bottle. I'm not gonna lie, I don't have the blue bottle up here, but I like the Bartonella wine, the blue bottle. Got the name of it. That's so bad because you know. But the rose champagne as well. You know what I'm saying? Let me look into the camera. You let me put that right there. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, Bartonella. Anything Bartonella, I'm rocking with it.
I feel you 100%. 100%. That's my favorite too. If I don't know what else to get, if all else fails, I'll just walk in and grab that and I'm good to go.
Yes. See, listen, can't go wrong with Bartonella at all.
For sure. So I want to thank you so much for your time and thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for your time, and listen, I can't wait to see this interview. It feels a little different being on the other side. You know what I'm saying? Interview, so definitely can't wait to see this.
You're so welcome. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I hope to speak with you soon. And good luck with everything you do for the rest of the year.
Thank you very much. Talk to you soon.